requested walk-in today. I'm going to try to run this one out pretty dang long. Hopefully this goes good. Hopefully we get a lot of people in here. Should be a good slot, I think. It's almost 7 a.m. my time. Hopefully keep a good connection. I got plenty of battery here, right? So we should be good for a good long walk. Let me make sure I've got it at the load. All right, so we'll see what happens with getting people in here. All right, there's the first person already watching. All right, we'll get a good walk in. I've already done a short one of these for Facebook already. We did what, an hour and 10 minutes or so on the first one. We'll get whatever we get. I mean, in a perfect world, I'd love to finish my 3 hours off here and then get over to bonus cardio later on the bike. Yeah, so we're just gonna cardio our way down to shredded Blaha. Slowly but surely. No whoosh in the last week though, because I cranked my sodium way up because of all the sweating. Threw some creatine in, but the waist is smaller and that's what matters. Getting the waist smaller is really the key. Like, I'm not even that worried if the scale has issues like that when I add salt and stuff. As long as my waistline gets smaller, we know we're losing fat. Plus, I know I'm in a deep deficit. I'm tracking everything. So, I mean, it really should be a massive deficit for me. I don't know that I would even be in a surplus at all if I cut all these hours of cardio out, right? I'd probably be recomping down at that if I just dropped all the cardio and just lifted. But the workouts are pretty long though, and I think that definitely helps too. I think doing the calf work every day probably helps my energy turnover. I saw Minnow put up a study on that recently showing that it turns out full body workouts end up with higher calorie burn and fat loss throughout the week. It's interesting. Your journey is motivating, Jason. Keep it up. Well, glad to hear this, Alexander. I assume this is not the real Alexander Leonidas. But, you know, I appreciate it anyway, brother. I'm trying to keep my journey flowing here. Just keep moving forward. That's going to be the whole thing. We're going to promote definitely more holistic fitness at this point. You know, this is why I'm like, let's get lean. Let's keep the diet on point. I want to really push health and longevity under the barbell more and more and more. And I've had a lot of people encourage me to do that. What's going on? How you doing, Peppermint? We did a short one of these already on Facebook, but I'm going to run this one out as long as I can tolerate it, or as long as technology and the phone allow for. I got a pretty good charge right now. I only used 30% of my charge on that last one on low power mode, and I'm at 90% again now. So I think we're going to have no battery issues. I'm also wondering, it's going to sound funny, I'm also wondering if on the low power mode the phone stays cooler with no background stuff. So I wonder how that'll do with the screen with the light later, right? But yeah, the name of the game is going to be, let's promote really real fitness. I get people who get mad at me, they're like, well, you promote this or that in powerlifting, and I'm like, okay, that's fine. But we can promote powerlifting still as a sport while still promoting holistic fitness, while still admitting the competitive aspect of any sport is probably not ideal for any health or fitness, right? But doesn't mean we still can't all compete in something. But at the end of the day, powerlifting competitively is not the same as just getting strong. You can be super strong without going through the process of competing and water cuts and all that. Yeah, I don't know how long I'm going to cut. I'm probably going to just need to keep getting leaner and leaner and leaner. So like I've said, I already know I'm going to have to go under 200 and stay under that. But how low I'm going to need to go, I don't know. But realistically, the leaner I can get to the lighter body weight while having as much muscle as I can, definitely going to be better for my health, you know. What you said about powerlifting and health reminds me of your chats with Jamie Lewis. He's big on that stuff, right? Right? So, you know, I mean, realistically, I don't know how light I need to really get, but I think as long as I hammer my arms a lot, I'm never gonna look small. The arms are always gonna be my biggest issue for me, but I'm gonna look big because of the muscle and the heavy lifting and stuff I do no matter what. So I'm not even worried about getting too light, you know. Yeah, I'm not doing trend. I can't handle trend psychologically. I'm also 48 years old. And no, trend doesn't make you leaner. You do realize that, not any more than any other androgen. Very, very, very mild fat burning. What trend does is a shift in water balance. Okay, and it's temporary. And all the guys who go on trend are like, man, I come off trend and in 4 weeks it's all gone. Right. They're all like, I got fatter and lost muscle. Which we know that the gaining fat is impossible from just that. So what really happened? They lost the intramuscular water, and then they lost the benefit of the shift in the cortical steroids where it sucks the water out from under skin. Okay. Tren is very much an illusion drug. I'm not even convinced that it builds muscle milligram for milligram more than other anabolics. Plus, yeah, I'm not willing to do all that. Dude, if I did Tren, I'd be running down the street butt naked with a Viking helmet on, swinging a battle axe, screaming blood for the blood god, skulls for the throne of corn. Right? And at this point in the game, we always talk about even Primo and all that stuff. Primo is all dried up. I know I have clients and friends who are like, dude, nobody can get Primo Raws anymore. Nobody's made any this year that they know of, any of the chemists out there. So something's happening out of Hong Kong and China where they're not even making their Raws. The whole Primo bowling thing is about to be gone, possibly. Yeah, blood for the blood, exactly, Peppermint. I'm on trend, and tests and results have been amazing. Respect the info, though. It's totally possible. Super Amigo, what do you mean possible? I didn't say possible. I told you literally biologically what happens. Like, that wasn't hyperbole. That wasn't a guess. I was telling you biologically because I know how trend works. What do you mean possible? No, I just gave you facts. Now, I like when you do chaos training and intro with the blood for the blood guy, right? That was always fun. I'm hoping this stream will pick up a little bit though. Man, why do we only have one bar? It's only 7 a.m. Come on. So, yep. So yeah, that's what I've heard. A bunch of guys are like, yeah, trend and master, like really, really hard to get real stuff all of a sudden. What that's going to do to the bodybuilding world, it's going to be worse for them because they're going to start throwing Winstrol back in more. It's just horrible for their health. Dang chill, I'm being polite. I need to read into myself. Oh, yeah, I'm sure I'm not our friend. What do you mean? No, dude, I'm super chill, amigo. It's never, what do you mean chill? Dude, I am super chill. I'm also doing cardio though. I'm just straight shooting you facts, brother. But here's my question is, don't get mad, say chill. So you don't know, you're injecting a drug into your body and you don't know this already? You didn't go research the various effects of how trend works before you started literally injecting it into your body. Now, I'm going to say to you that is probably not a wise choice. I can leave it at that. I'm not going to insult. I'm simply going to say, my friend, that might not have been the wisest choice. You should probably, in the future, my advice to you would be, before you inject a drug into your body every week, or every day, or every other day, you should probably do some research on how it works and the various mechanisms of action. Alexander, hey Peppermint, do you want to type it out for me so I don't got to say it? All right, I don't track steps. My goal for this part of the cut, Alexander, I try to get 2 hours of fasted cardio as my baseline on training days. Non-training days like today, the baseline is 3 hours, and we try to squeeze in more if I can get it. So it's hours, because I keep in mind I rotate modalities. I do walks when it's early enough in the morning to get a signal before all the cell phone towers get loaded and my phone gets too hot and it goes black. It's like, so on YouTube, when it gets hot outside, the screen turns completely black. I could see Facebook, but not YouTube. And then so the rest of the cardio, I get on my indoor bike and I ride and I stream both Facebook and YouTube concurrently. So that's usually either the second hour on training days, because during that time of day it's just too hot and the phone won't keep a signal. But non-training days, it's just bonus, whatever I can get in. Like ideally, I'd love to get 3 full hours of walking in. If we can keep connectivity, I'd love to break 3 hours total for this morning, which we're at almost an hour now. We're about an hour and a half now total. So, you know, in theory, we go another 90 minutes or so. And this one will be golden. And I'll do another one on the bike here later. So the reason we're doing it is to create a calorie deficit, so I can still maintain a fairly high calorie and carbohydrate intake in the afternoons. But the cut's been going pretty well, all things considered. And I hate to use the baseline of when I started, because I was on lower carbs and I upped the carbs and gained 5 pounds early in the cut. So I like to take that top end and then bring it down. So from there, we're down 16 pounds, right? So way significantly smaller. So, but yeah, as far as the total body weight, the longer I look at it, I don't know how low I'm going to need to go. Definitely not going to be stop at 200. But again, if we're going to talk about longevity, I need to be under 200 pounds, probably indefinitely. Like realistically, that needs to be just for life, you know? And again, you go back and look at real weights of people, look at Frank Zane's weight, look at people like that. I mean, he was jacked and phenomenal as an average height guy, even at 185, you know, contest. So no reason we can't look great. And I think people get construed because they see so many guys on a lot of gear of how big people are at body weights, you know. But I mean, realistically speaking, 185 shredded is pretty big. You know, it's not 3 grams of gear big, but it's pretty big, right? I don't even know if I would need to run the numbers in a fat-free mass index calculator. I'm actually legitimately curious. Hey, Peppermint, are you close enough to a fat-free mass index calculator? Because I can't do it walking. So what if a guy is 5'9", 185, and 8% body fat? What would his fat be? If you can throw it in a calculator for me. Yeah. So plug in 5'9", 185 pounds, 8%. I'm just curious what it would spit out. Sorry guys, I've got a little bit of sinus drainage here this morning. I took a little Benadryl last night. It's because of I get pollen allergies. Yeah. You know, now obviously that would be some lean tissue loss because of lean tissue in the fat, because I know the last DEX I had showed me at 180 pounds of lean mass. Came out 25 point. So, all right. 25 point, basically 25.2. That's still, looking at that, someone's going to go, that's an enhanced. So keep that in mind. Off that old data, that is literally an enhanced fat-free mass index. So even if I cut down to that and I end up landing there, you know what I mean? that's still a red flag for gear use. Massive red flag by every metric. So when I've said stuff like I could go to 185, and I've had some people say, Coach, that's too small. That is literally enhanced bodybuilder stats. How's that small? You know, what world are we living in to where a fat-free mass index of 25 plus, someone would say that's just too small? Man, I mean, think of that crazy line of thought. You know, what's the logic there? Coach, in lieu of your cutting for health, in your opinion, what would be optimal weight for a guy like me, 190? I don't know. I mean, we could look at BMI charts. We could look at fat-free mass index stuff, Lars. You're going to have to ask Peppermint to do some calculations for you on Google, because I don't have any calculators or charts in front of me while I'm doing streams, walking. Makes sense. I think once you hit your goal weight, you got a troll. Makes sense. Cheers. Are marine-derived omega-3s better than plant, even if you adjust for same ratios? That's a complicated topic, Adrian. That's a complicated topic. The reason being, you can get more concentrated EPA and DHA out of marine, and that can matter when you're taking very high intakes for specific cardio things. But generally speaking, for general health, I'm going to say no, because EPA and DHA are not essential fats either, right? You have to have some alpha linoleic acid. It is actually an essential fat. And since your body can make the others out of it, they're non-essential. So keep in mind, you need some alpha linoleic acid. So technically, if you could only pick one to have in your diet, the plant-derived ALA makes more sense. Now, are you probably getting traces of it through your, fruits and vegetables and grains and stuff anyways? Probably, depending on what you're eating. But you do have to have some for survival. Makes sense? It is essential. Now, if we're looking at certain extreme responses like triglyceride lowering, you almost need the marine to really hit those numbers. Like, I'm taking a very concentrated amount that gives me over 2 grams of EPA and DHA because I'm using extra strength fish oil. It also was prescribed for certain cardiac patients. I'm doing it because I want to make sure that I keep my heart health 100% given my family history. Plus my dietary fat is so low, I want to make sure I don't get a deficiency. But I mean, I could make the case that it may not matter at all. So for example, Adrian, I would go so far as to say that let's say someone lived on a lot of healthy fats. Like, let's say you went with a slightly lower carb, really high healthy fat diet, and you had walnuts and flax seeds and plenty of nuts and seeds in there. I would say the plant will be still optimal for health. You'll be fine. Right? And you'll have more than enough to cover all your needs for conversion, but then you'll get all the benefits of the ALA. So you have to keep in mind, alpha linoleic acid is extremely healthy. Like, if you're looking at optimal fat sources, like if you needed a higher fat diet, having a bias towards ALA and then linoleic acid as primary calorie sources even on a higher fat diet makes a lot of sense. Your inflammation will be way down, your insulin sensitivity will be very high. So as far as calorie sources go, they're solid calorie sources. And this is kind of why, like, experts and researchers don't understand the anti-seed oil thing. They're like, seed oils compared to half the stuff people eat are dramatically healthier. It's just that they're fat. They're a lot of fat. It's very easy to overeat. But that's an argument. Every time you bring it up, people get angry at you, and then they pull this, more science. Oh, science says, and it's like, yes, that is what the research shows. So the thing is, you know, people bring that up also, and it's crazy because I'm like, well, without science, how would you know what seed oils are? Meaning you're going to talk about polyunsaturated fats, and then you'll say, oh, science says, well, yeah, science also calls them polyunsaturated fats. So you're literally discussing science. So you can't just reject science and then claim to know that polyunsaturated fats even exist. Or omega-6, really? Because you wouldn't know that without looking at them through the microscope. So it's this strange thing. And what people miss is the issue with seed oils themselves is the fact that they're cooked into so many highly refined foods. No, I don't believe in ferment. Kefir's not fermented. Kefir is cultured, it's not fermented. No, I'm not a big believer in fermented foods. I don't think they're that big of a deal or they're important. I think cultured foods can be because of the probiotics. So kefirs, yogurts, things like that, phenomenal, right? You get live and active cultures. But I do Greek yogurt. So it's always good for gut health. So prebiotic foods, probiotic foods in general. So there's your combination. So I mean the same thing. You're not needing to go ferment foods. If you have good gut health and you eat prebiotic foods, your body ferments foods for you, right? So you don't need to go seek out fermented foods like that. Have healthy gut flora and give yourself plenty of prebiotic foods, plenty of fibers, things like that, right? I mean, I'll give you a perfect example of how you could make a really amazing prebiotic food. Take some oats and put a local honey in it and mix it together. Done. You're gonna have all that soluble fiber that will feed gut flora, and then that fructose will be bound into it from the honey, which will reach the gut and create, again, prebiotic foods for fermentation. So, right. But, well, so listen to what I just said. Wouldn't that be kind of in agreement, though, with what I just said? That combination would be all that fiber, right? And then you're carrying other prebiotic stuff in there, like the honey in it or some fruit or whatever. It's going to carry that fructose in that fiber to the gut. Yeah, fiber itself. I've been telling you guys that for a while. I'm like, that's why this anti-fiber nonsense from the carnivores is so moronic. It is literally the most brain-dead moronic idea nutritionally you could possibly come up with. And that's the point they're missing. Not only their saturated fat, but their fiber position is literally an opposite world. Increasing fiber intake is almost guaranteed health improvement. And the only reason some of those people can't handle fiber is because their diet has been so bad because of their horrible lifestyles that they're having to rebuild their gut health. And so then they're doing stupid stuff like carnivore to avoid the fiber because they haven't improved their gut health enough to handle it. They need to fix their gut health in their gut. So a lot of people who go to those silly diets, they're not doing the things. Without that fiber, you're going to have problems. It's not a case of, well, I can just avoid fiber. Well, no, your health is going to decline from that. What you have to do is fix your body to where you can handle the fiber again. But why are people having these problems? They did really low fiber diets with too much junk fat in their diets, drink alcohol. All those things have destroyed their gut health. It's destroyed their gut lining, damaged it. It's killed off a lot of their gut flora. So they can't always handle fiber. You need a mix of soluble and insoluble. There are benefits to both. So if your diet is varied, you're going to have tons of both. But generally speaking, we should be pushing as much fiber as we really can. And you build up your ability to handle more and more of it. So even though Lane and I might have our differences, I'm going to agree with him on the fiber. Like he's just objectively and scientifically correct. Like the enormous weight of the scientific evidence on the side. So in this case, because he has a PhD in nutrition, he kind of does know what he's talking about. I mean, so anyone who's being intellectually honest has an advanced degree in his field is going to know this. So yeah, fiber. So all of it you need, right? You're gonna need soluble and insoluble. It resolves so many problems, right? We can make a strong case for, with high enough fiber intakes, in theory, we offset the negatives of almost every bad food you eat on top of that. And I think people forget that too. That's why it's kind of like, well, how much of this can you tolerate? Well, it's going to depend on the context of your diet. Because honestly, if you're eating enough fiber, you start offsetting the negatives of saturated fat. You start offsetting the negatives of refined sugars. I mean, there's a threshold to where with enough fiber, refined sugars aren't even going to hurt you. As long as you're not consuming them first, right? But then you have that nonsense, bodybuilders. Well, I want to get the carbs in me as fast as I can for whatever reason. Like if you're not shooting insulin, that's a bad idea. I get it if you're shooting insulin in your drug stack. Everybody else, it's just not important. There is no, oh, we've got to get this as quick as possible. Hell, guys, I fast 18 hours a day. My training fasted. And I eat high fiber with my first meal. And I'm just fine, guys. There's a preferred ratio? No, there's no preferred ratio. No, I mean, literally the more the better. I don't, let me make this clear. Like asking how much should I have, it's almost like asking, I don't know, how much money do you want to get paid per hour at your job? You're like, well, the more the better. Yep. So Adrian, 30 grams of fiber is decent, 50 is great. If you can get it 100 and tolerate it, even better. That's hard to do. I mean, if you want to talk optimal health, but so there's no way it's not going to be a massive amount of soluble and insoluble. So no, you're not looking for a ratio. Just understand they both have some slightly separate benefits. You want a lot of both. So think of fiber as long as your gut can physically handle it without distress, the more the better, literally. So think of it the same way as, you know, how much money do you want to get paid per hour at your job? Like, well, I'd like more. Okay. Coach, I like that pot of food you made yesterday. Looks very healthy and nutritious. Yep. And that's how we're eating on this cut. You know, which one? I posted several. Are you talking just the YouTube one a couple days ago or the ones I post every day? Because I put them on Facebook and Instagram, both, all my meals pretty much. You guys can see what I eat every day. Yeah. So my fiber is crazy high. Like I clear over 50 grams of fiber a day. YouTube one, yeah. I'd probably clear even more if I really wanted to buy even more and more vegetables. But there's a point where I go, you know, how much money do I want to spend on more vegetables and how many of them do I want to eat? It's a lot. I mean, I eat a minimum baseline of a pound of broccoli every day. and it's probably more. I think it probably is definitely closer to 2 a lot of days. Peppers, I have my spinach, I have my sweet potatoes. I heard that consuming a lot of dairy is not inherently bad, however, aside from the amount, a lot of quasi-bovine estrogen hormones consumed in the end product, which is problematic. Why? How much do you think you're getting, and why is it problematic, Adrian? So, how much? So instead of taking people's word, why don't you go measure it? So why don't you go look and see how much actual estrogen is in milk, and then compare it to how much a healthy male produces naturally. And so instead of scaremongering, go look up the numbers. So let's say a gallon of milk, right? Or let's say a liter. Let's say you drink a liter of milk a day. And let's say the estrogen is 100% bioavailable. Like your stomach acids don't break it down, which that's a stretch. It's not been modified to be orally bioavailable with an ester like drugs have to be. You can't just drink estrogen and testosterone, by the way. It doesn't work. Let's assume it's bioavailable, okay? So you take a liter of milk. And let's assume your stomach acids don't break any of it down and you absorb all the estrogen. So does a liter of milk, compared to what you're already producing every day, how much estrogen do you think is in there versus what your body is producing? Just give me a ballpark guess. I'll give you the answer. It's less than 1%. Your estrogen levels would maybe go up 1% if you could actually digest and absorb all the estrogen in that milk. Okay? Now, here's the next question. Why are you scared of estrogen? Do you not want muscle growth? Do you not want erections? Why are you scared of estrogen as a man? You do realize low estrogen causes brittle bones, causes heart attacks, and it causes erectile dysfunction. So why are you scared of estrogen? You're like, I'm scared of getting hard-ons. I don't want erections. I don't want to have a sex drive. Do you see the issue? Now, highly elevated estrogen is different, but are you really fat? The best way to keep estrogen from being super high as a man is to just stay lean. Then it will never happen. I'll go so far as to say even really lean guys can use more steroids with less estrogen control. I understand estrogen is necessary for men, but where are you getting the large amounts? Okay, yeah, but where would you get the large amounts from? There's not enough do you really think drinking 2 gallons of milk in a day is going to be the same as taking an estrogen pill? It's not even in the ballpark, dude. It's fairly small amounts. Yes, it's large dietarily, right? So this is nonsense. Like this is silly nonsense. This is again strange fear mongering. Also, in theory, the lower fat dairy would have less of it. But again, you also have to keep in mind, is the estrogen in the milk been bioengineered to be orally bioavailable? So are you telling me scientists came in and attached esters to it? It's like 17 alpha alkylated molecules so it will survive your stomach acids? All of this, come on. I don't think they've done that. You're not going to get very much of it. So again, let's come back over. Dairy is a superfood for athletes. All right. Chad Gentleman says, hey, what's up, Chad? How you doing? All right. So, you know, out of all the things people are afraid of, being afraid of some low-fat dairy is not on the list. I get the whole-fat dairy concerns because it's just a total saturated fat and possible fat gain, not necessarily lipids. But outside of that, there's no concern. Dairy is a superfood. It amazes me, though, that people will be afraid of something like that, but they'll eat a piece of cake. You know, I'm not speculating. I'm reading. Wait a minute. Well, mathematically, it just doesn't pan out, though. But again, we come over to, so even if you're worried about it, then just eat the lower fat dairy. Any of the estrogen is going to be bound to the fat anyways. Evan says, all the best with everything. Appreciate it, man. Appreciate it, Evan. You know, realistically, I would point back over to, if you're concerned with elevated estrogen, don't get fat. Like, that's your big solution. You know, I think people really worry about the wrong stuff. I'm not saying it's strong evidence, but you're right. I can just go low fat. Yeah. You know, but by that same token, do you drink any alcohol, Adrian? Even in moderation? What happens to men who drink alcohol in terms of testosterone and estrogen? Based on the evidence. So that's what always blows my mind. I'm not saying necessarily just you, but I see people who worry about all sorts of stuff that they drink. And I'm like, you don't think you're stepping over dollars to pick up dimes? You know? So alcohol lowers testosterone and increases estrogen in men. Right? Plus all its other toxic effects, you know? Same thing, I see people will worry about pesticides, but they drink alcohol, and I'm just like, you're worried about trace amounts of a poison while you're mass dosing a poison. It's like we're in a different realm of magnitude here. Another Adrian, we got two Adrians. Good morning, Adrian. You know, we've taken that to a whole other level. There's room for only one of us, right? There can be only one. Better be careful, he might take your number 3 crown if he keeps posting. All right. Kind of feel like we're going through charge a little faster this time. Wonder if I've left something open. But, you know, it's all good. All right. Well, we might reach a case where this phone doesn't make it. Hold on, give me a second. I'm going to check other stuff. I left Messenger open because I was copy-pasting the title. I could have been pulling a little bit of drain. Let's close that out. I don't see why anyone's taking exogenous ketones. No, I don't see the point. What are you trying to get from it? No, I mean, I really don't understand why people are taking them. Newcomers hit the like. There you go. Tell them, Peppermint. New people got to hit that like button. They're not hitting it. That's what gets the views up. No, I don't understand the purpose of taking exogenous ketones at all. I mean, it's just an extra fat type calorie. You just want more calories. There's more delicious tasting calories than exogenous ketones. If you just want quick absorbed calories, you could eat carbohydrates in that case. You know, You just want some quick absorbing energy. What's wrong with carbs? You're like, well, I'm on a ketogenic diet, so why don't you just eat more healthy fat then? Why do you need exogenous ketones? You'll turn those into ketones anyways, you know. I don't know. I just don't see the point. The keto people do weird stuff, you know. They do weird stuff sometimes. Yep. Do you have any coaching slots open on a 3-month basis? Yeah. Adrian, I have slots open. Yeah, seriously, no, go message me on Facebook right now. Hop over to Facebook, go into Messenger, message my page. I can get you started. I mean, I do them month to month, but I can also do people for 3 months. If they tell me, hey, I'm only going to do 3 months, then I know you're doing 3 months and I can try to teach you everything I can in 3 months. So yeah, absolutely, Adrian. No, seriously, go message my Facebook right now. Let's get a conversation started, get an application going, and I'll see if we can help you out. No, I have like three slots open right now, dude. Straight up 3 slots. Technically, I have more, but I don't want to take on more than 3 in a short time. Lars says, for extreme athletes, ketones are good because they enable your body to absorb more carbs per time. Very used in professional cycling. This is not for, yeah. So again, Lars, we're getting over to extreme cases, and I've said that before. Extreme endurance athletes do need certain types of different processed foods. And in that context, if they're shuttling it in with pure glucose also, that makes sense. But we're consuming refined foods for the purpose of meeting demands of an endurance event as an athlete. For someone like me or most of us, I'm only doing 3 hours of cardio. It's not that big of a deal. Like, we don't need anything like that. I mean, I do 3+ hours fasted, and then I eat an unrefined breakfast, you know, and we're fine. But I think people forget that these are people who are burning, you know, 4,000 calories during an event. You know, and they have to maintain hydration and all that too. So there's a lot that goes into that. And they're literally doing all that chasing a 1% performance advantage in a competitive endurance environment. You know. So yeah, totally different ball game. So in that context, yeah, it makes sense for an endurance event, but probably not for your practice, may not be necessary. So I could see that, especially if there's a pure glucose powder and an electrolyte with it, like a glucose gel. So, because in that case, they want no fiber, right? So then they would also load electrolytes to also help with the sodium glucose pump and everything. So they'd be adding salts with it also. But again, let's talk about for normal people, right? Absolutely, there's no point. Like, I don't see the point at all. It doesn't make any sense. There's no real logic behind it. All right. Whereas for me, I kind of do the opposite. I literally like, let's build my calves more to help lose weight faster, right? So I want to be inefficient. I want to burn more energy just with walking and my loose cardio. I honestly feel like my big calves may be one of the reasons I have such a high energy turnover anyways. Because everyone freaks out at my maintenance and they're like, what do you mean you eat that much? Like, even when I don't do a lot of cardio, my maintenance is still, 3,500 plus just to maintain. Yeah. Am I Scooby's son? Objectively speaking, no, I am not related to Scooby in any way. The only thing Scooby and I have in common is that we're both old school fitness YouTubers, but he started many years before I did. Right, I came from that like 2012 group right around that time. The Chris Jones, Louis Marco, we all kind of started similar times. So Scooby's a little bit more old school. But nope. I am becoming one of the older guys on here though who's still able to do this. That's my biggest issue, is consuming the protein. Right now I'm just 150 grams of protein to struggle with that much food. We just covered that in the first stream, Peppermint, remember? No, none of the only old school guys I still have any contact with is Chris Jones. So Adrian, the whole point of protein overfeeding is to lose fat. So you're struggling. I haven't talked to any of those other guys now in years. No, I just literally told you Chris Jones. I don't know why you'd ask other names. That's it. I mean, he's literally the only one I've had any contact with in years. So, Adrian, you're saying, well, you're 150 grams of protein. Well, are you trying to lose body fat? Then you don't need more than that. That's more than sufficient for anyone who's up to 100 kilos of body weight. That's optimal for muscle growth. Now, if you're trying to lose fat, that's wonderful. You're struggling to eat more food while losing body fat. Well, that's a win. That's what we want. That's desirable. That you shouldn't be complaining. Most people are hungry when they're trying to lose fat. You're like, I can't force the food down. Well, that's perfect. That's going to make losing body fat even easier. So you're on the right track. Now, if you're trying to gain muscle, the protein's fine. Right? Makes sense. But the other Adrian, did you message my Facebook yet? So get a conversation started. And I 100% have slots. For your meat, do you prefer chicken over pork? Yeah, I prefer chicken over pork. I don't really like pork that much, honestly, by comparison. Plus, if I'm going to buy more expensive, leaner meats, I'm just going to get really lean steak anyways. Like if I'm going to go with preference, it's going to be steak. But, you know, it costs more. And since I'm just adding all this flavoring to the rice and stuff anyways, the chicken works great. It's super cost effective. And if I'm on Facebook login details, cool. Yeah, no, find it ASAP. Hit me up. Let's get it going, dude. I'll get you up and running in no time. I've only taken on one client this month, one new client, so I definitely have slots. I've done I've done like 5 consultations for non-clients, but I've only taken on one client this month. I have plenty of those, by the way, guys, if you guys want to get consultations in there. Coach, rank the meats in order, chicken, beef. What is my criteria of ranking, Peppermint? I mean, are we talking health, body composition, taste, cost? So, I mean, if we're not factoring in optimal body compositions per se or costs, obviously steak and then lamb are up there at the top. Like they're the best tasting meats in existence. They're also the most expensive. So, and they also can be a little higher in fat. But generally, body composition and health, just the leaner, the better. Whatever's leanest. But if you're going to go in terms of taste, I don't really like pork, so it's going to rank last for taste. But steak, I love steak. I mean, were budget and maybe fat intake never considerations, I'd eat steak every single day, 7 days a week, the rest of my life. No, I like lamb. Well, the problem is lamb is just not as available. Like, you just don't see as much of it, right? Because beef is such a bigger market. Lamb tends to be a little more expensive and less available, right? Um, you don't see it at many restaurants. Like, I think of lamb as something at a slightly nicer restaurant. Like, I took a girl about 10 years ago on a date to this French restaurant, and we had lamb. They had pesto lamb there, and it was great. But, you know, so that's usually the difference. So again, just because our beef industry is so big, but right now beef is not necessarily the most cost effective. So the difference, so I mean, we're talking, the cost, say for me to eat steak every day versus chicken per month is literally a whole client. So like if I were to just switch over to steak every day instead of chicken for my main protein, that's a whole client per month price difference. So for the same amount of protein. So, you know, I'm spending more of my money on vegetables and that. I'm keeping the protein cheap, and then my food budget goes into all those piles of vegetables I'm eating. But yeah, I mean, if I was making the sort of money I used to make, like when my coaching business was at its peak, I'd probably be doing more steak. I'd be doing more really lean beef. Yeah. So, I mean, for example, price difference. I pay about $2.40 for a pound of chicken breast. For me to get, say, sirloin or flank steak, I'm going to pay $7 to $8 a pound, you know, minimum. So we're talking at least 3 times the price, you know. And if I'm just doing my rice stuff, I mean, I just cook the chicken in and it tastes great. So the only benefit with the steak would be, oh, let me put it on the side, you know. Red meat is also extremely expensive now. Yeah, so it's just, we all have to think about budgeting, you know. Right? But, you know, as the economy turns around, that can change. You know, there was definitely a time where I lived where we could get steak on sale. I'd sometimes see sirloin at literally $3 a pound, $4. That's way better. Have you heard of OMAD? Yeah, why would anyone do OMAD? Extreme for no benefit. Creating discomfort and potentially slightly reduced muscle protein synthesis for no benefit. Like, just do a normal intermittent fasting. There's no need to be that extreme to do one meal. It doesn't make sense, right? It's taking a good idea like intermittent fasting and it's like, it's not extreme enough. Let's go more extreme to make it harder and more intolerable, you know, right? We don't have to take everything that's already good and slightly extreme and make it more extreme. And it's like a selling thing that people love to do. You think chicken breast is better for health? I think it's context dependent, Carol. In the context of leaner red meat with a really high fiber diet, no. Makes sense. But I could also look at right now with what I'm doing with my diet of, is that extra red meat fat potentially costing me carbohydrate? You know, you got to think about that. I'm trying to optimize on my cut right now. But no, I mean, context dependent. Your personal sensitivity to saturated fat, total intake, aspects of your diet, no, it's not necessarily always healthier. They could be identical. It's like we were talking about fiber intake earlier. As fiber intakes go up, even concerns about saturated fat go down on a quantitative basis. Fiber fixes a lot of problems. Is Facebook the only way to contact you for spots? Adrian, this is the second Adrian. You can contact me on Instagram, but you may need to message me on a post saying you contacted me because it hits my spam filter. I get about 50 spam messages a day, so it may hit my spam filter on Instagram. You can reach me there, but I will want you to set up a Messenger account, even if we get an application going, because I do all my coaching through Messenger. It's my preferred thing, so I have all my clients in one place, right? And I've had clients who are like, well, can I use this other? I'm like, I still need you to send stuff to Messenger, because that way I can check in with all my clients in the same spot every day, 7 days a week, without running through multiple apps to do it. And it works for all my organization and file transfers and videos really easily. So I have it down to a solid workflow. So no, you can also reach me through Instagram. I have my official Instagram's linked under here also. So you can reach me there, but you will need to eventually at least set up a Messenger. But yeah, you can reach me through Instagram, so hit me up there too, dude, if you're also interested in coaching or even consultation calls, right? I can do consultation calls through Instagram if you absolutely do not have Messenger, because we can still set everything up through there and I can do calls through it. But for actual coaching, we definitely need Messenger. Cool, so you can hit me up too, Adrian too. So if you're interested, yeah, hit me up today, man. So I'll get both of you guys in this week if y'all both are wanting to jump on for coaching. I'll get it flowing. Adrian says, I'm so glad the trolling has died down for you, onward and upward. Yeah, I mean, we got one troll in here today that I banned. One. Dude, we've done 2 hours of streaming. One troll. I'll do my best to hate. Well, with Messenger, you don't have to be active on Facebook. You can have just a dead account that doesn't do anything, that just goes to Messenger, and just use the Messenger app. Like, you don't even have to look at Facebook. So it's pretty easy. But yeah, you can definitely reach me through Instagram first. Reach out and get the application started. But like I said, so if you go to Instagram, tell me that you sent me a message so that I know to check. Assuming you have Instagram also. Adrian, I agree. It's so refreshing to have no nonsense. Exactly. Then we can just talk real stuff. You guys notice what's his name? Hasn't come in today. Peppermint. We're over 2 hours. And that dude hadn't showed up. Who I banned every day. I think even he's realized he's going to get nowhere. He might come into the other one later. Yeah, we just don't need trolling, because I don't even care about all this stuff. The stuff that people troll about, half of it's fabricated, not more. 2, they want to hash up old stuff that don't care about anymore. It's kind of a waste of time, you know. We don't like what your old political views might have been, okay? But I'm not that person anymore, so it's kind of irrelevant, you know. Yeah, he had to come in here. Yeah, first time in months, which is weird. He might have got banned one too many times. He might have, well, he seems really unstable. He might have done something, I don't know. You know. All right. Oh. Maybe his mommy. Yeah, who knows, dude? I mean, but yeah, it's been kind of nice. We've had less of it. And it's not just here. It's like, when I say that it's less, I mean, the lives are all of it. I'm not getting trolling anywhere but the Facebook lives, and it's so little. Right? They're not contacting me through other places. Like text messages, phone, emails, Facebook. They're leaving everything alone. It's just literally been the live streams. And it's so few. It's great. I'm not a troll, but I used to watch your channel for 80% entertainment. But I stuck for the information, and it rocks. Very valuable advice. But I admit I also love the drama. And you know what? That's totally fair. You know? And I can appreciate that. I mean, a lot of people love the drama. I mean, people like being entertained. I get that. I don't think there's anything wrong with pursuing a little entertainment for people who want it. I just didn't enjoy doing it anymore. I would rather make my money doing more positive stuff than the drama, you know? But I totally get it. I mean, who doesn't like to be entertained from time to time? I mean, that's just human nature, right? Are you not entertained, you know? But that's the thing. We stick around for the information, you know? And now I'm hoping more people stick around for the transformation, the shift in focus towards it. But I think that matters. So there's your context too. How many of the people who used to follow me for the drama 10 years ago are now older? You know what I mean? So what if every single person who followed me for drama 10 years ago suddenly came back for the longevity information, the staying in the game? If every one of those people came back now 10 years older knowing they need it, my channel would explode and be on fire. You know, because how many of those people were 25 back then and they were watching the drama 10 years ago and they're 35 now and realizing, hey, you know, I might need some coaches still in the game. I could use some help. Like if every one of those people now 10 years older, 100% of them came back and watched my new stuff, you know, my videos would all be getting 2,000 views. So maybe they will though. How about I keep getting leaner, keep getting fitter? And then people realize the importance of the long game, you know? And if that's gonna happen, I tell guys who want the coaching, get in now, because I've already written one day. If I get all my social media where I want it, I'm gonna jack up coaching prices because I have a long-term business model. But people who get in now are locked into the cheap rate. I'm gonna raise if I ever blow my stuff back up, I'm raising rates because I'm gonna want less clients. I've kind of written out different benchmarks. You know, why would I be excited for the holidays? Holidays aren't a big deal to me. No. I have obligations. I have holiday obligations I make. Call out, I show speed to a marathon. What? I don't know who that is, and why would I challenge them to a marathon? Coach ain't about to run no marathons. Right? Oh, no anymore. And why are we, what holidays are we worried about? Dude, this is summer. The holidays are not coming for months. What's the longest I've ever coached a single client? 5 years. So Justin was definitely there, but he had to drop recently. It's his budget can't swing it. So currently would then be Matthias. I've had Matthias 5 years. So I've had a couple clients for 5 years who've reached a 5 year. Even my long timers, I get a lot of dropouts by year 3 or so. It's really common. It's really hard to keep someone more than about 3. I would say I've only done that. I've only had like